The following presentation was given live via Google Meet on Monday, December 9th, 2024. This event was sponsored by Three Hierarchs Orthodox Christian High School located in Niles, Illinois. Good evening and welcome to this presentation sponsored by Three Hierarchs Orthodox Christian High School in Niles, Illinois. On post-secondary options and planning, my name is Christopher Chiakulas. I'm the school counseling consultant for the high school. And really quickly, just a little bit about myself. I'm in my 12th year as a public high school counselor, with 10 out of those 12 years focusing specifically on post-secondary counseling, college and career counseling. I also work at a community college. I have some other boards and things that I'm on just to show that I'm involved in this post-secondary process, and so that you know that I'm really involved in it, and kind of have been asked by different organizations for my opinions and my feedback and so on and so forth. Previous jobs that I've had were also on the college side, working as an academic advisor at a large four-year school, and I was a high school teacher as well. And I say all these things again just to kind of give you a little bit of background. Nothing in there has anything that shows that I am a parenting expert by any chance, nor do I have any degrees in theology. So while I will, of course, I'm going to talk about this process through an Orthodox lens, we're not going to get too deep into anything that I think anyone would disagree with, but if so, definitely let me know. I'm married with 4 kids who are in this house or will be soon, so hopefully they are keeping quiet in the background along, and thanks for my wife for watching them. We attend St. John the Baptist, which is in Des Plaines, Illinois, and I'm also the founder of a platform called Orthodox Christian College Counseling that helps high schoolers and their families navigate both high school and the college process or post-high school process from an Orthodox perspective. At the end, I will have a quick survey to kind of get some feedback from where you're coming from and so on and so forth. So oftentimes in my role, I hear that unless you're a junior or senior, it's too early to start thinking about life after high school. And I would say that's definitely not true. You don't have to make any life decisions as a freshman or sophomore or even down in middle school, but you should be thinking about what it is that you want, what the students want to do in the future. And it's really important to always kind of have that process going because, it's going to come before you know it. And if you just decide, I actually just talked to a senior today, senior in December of senior year, so what have you thought about anything? Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to do this, but I haven't applied yet. And it's December already. Like most of the students are done applying. And so it'll come fast. And so again, it's always important to be thinking about it. And we're going to talk about what should be thought about and what should be done at each level of high school, in sort of like a timeline, so to speak. When we talk about our options, our post-secondary options for after high school, there's a lot of different routes to go. And I found this graphic online that I think is really great. There's a mix of things. Of course, there at the bottom, you have your 4-year traditional college or your 2-year degree. But there's a lot of routes you can go. There's vocational training. There's the military. There's other, public safety like police or fire where maybe you go to some college and then you go to a special academy. You can go straight into a union trade and do all your training through a union. You can get certificates like dental or vet tech or things like that, either through a 2-year school or through a separate school. We'll talk a little bit about all of these in more detail, but one thing to keep in mind is, especially the younger you are, the more to keep your options open. And I'm going to say this probably a few times, but for parents should really also keep their options open and not just think what they would like their kid to do or what they want to force their kid to do, but we're really in the end, what is God's will for them when they've gone through the thought process and the planning process. If they come up with a route that you weren't expecting or thinking, that might be God's will, and it's got to be about what's best for the student in the end. So of course, parents are going to guide them along the way and give them some advice, but if we try to like force them somewhere, then that could be a problem. And so really quickly, I do want to go through these just so everyone kind of understands like some of the benefits and why you might go certain routes. So it might be pretty self-explanatory, but I just want to make sure we cover what all these options are in just a little bit more detail. So the first, of course, is your traditional kind of four-year college or university if you're seeking that bachelor's degree in a lot of fields. And some colleges offer hundreds of different bachelor degree options. You're going to have a comprehensive education, so you're going to take gen eds and so on, and then you're going to take your major courses and get that degree in that area. The campus experience can vary widely at different schools, but and you could even get it online possibly, but it's really a chance for you to get that comprehensive education, do internships, network with people, and some career fields require a bachelor's degree. So if you want to be a public school teacher in Illinois, for example, or you might want to be an accountant or something, you're going to have a bachelor's degree, and there's a variety of areas you can get that in. Previous to that is a community college that offers, that are what we call two-year colleges, community colleges or junior colleges, and they can provide an associate's degree or a two-year degree, certificates, or you can just take courses and transfer those to a four-year school. The benefit, of course, is that they're lower cost, there's smaller classes, you can kind of, if you're not sure, you can kind of look around. If you're really undecided coming out of high school, or you didn't get the best grades, or you're trying to save a good amount of money, the benefits, are really there to start at a two-year school. So as I mentioned, I teach classes at a community college, and I have a range of students, some who are right out of high school, looking just to transfer, get credits and transfer. Some have had other careers for years, and they're coming back just to get another certificate or different associates to do a career shift, a lot of different things. So this is a great option for a lot of different reasons at a lot of points in a person's life. A trade school or a technical school are going to be more focused and specialized. So unlike a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree where you're still going to take a lot of gen ed classes, trade schools are probably going to cut right to the chase of what is that program. So if it's an electrician, you're not going to be taking history and philosophy. You're going to be taking electrical classes and everything that's related to it, hands-on experience. You can get certain certificates with as short as 6 months, just to a couple years, and you can get into some of those high-paid jobs. I kind of forgot to mention, but for those paths we saw earlier, that whole big list, a lot of them might, again, intersect. So you might do a trade program at a community college. You might do, as we'll talk about in a second, military before, during, or after college. And so there's a lot of different ways. So military is the next one. Obviously, it's a chance to serve your country. You get training, there's educational benefits, there's career skills. One big benefit is that your school, if you decide to go to college, is going to be paid for in some way, shape, or form. Many students do college before the military, they do college and the military together, or they do military and then college. So you can do it a lot of different ways. Of course, if the military is paying for your school, you are going to have to give them some service back. Many of the military jobs are not combat jobs. There's lots of jobs in engineering, in cybersecurity, and things like that. So not every military job is combat, though if you're in the military, of course, there's a chance you could be called into action. So it's something you got to think about. And if you graduate college with a bachelor's degree, you're automatically an officer in rank higher than those who just enlist straight out of high school. The military also has service academies, which are four-year universities, completely free, though quite competitive to get into. And then the last one is a gap year program, where some students, when I say, hey, what are you doing after next year? Like, I'm just going to take a gap year. And I say, what does that mean? And like, I'm just going to kind of work at McDonald's and hang out. Like, that's not a gap year. That's just going into the workforce and not going to college. A true gap year is when you take a break from school because you're like, I know I want to go to school usually at some point. I just don't know what. I'm not ready. I want to do some other things first. And so you do something structured. You might travel. You might volunteer, you might do mission work, and through the Orthodox Church, there's a lot of different ways to do some great mission work, Project Mexico, helping build houses in Mexico, OCMC or IOCC. Some of these programs can definitely cost a lot of money. But if you go through a mission work, hopefully you're having some fundraising available and things like that. So it does require some planning and financial support and having a goal of what you hope to get out of it. And many students do come back from these experiences, whether it's 6 months or a year, more focused and ready and knowing what they want to do in college and beyond. All right. So with all those options, some questions that might come into your head on where do we begin are by asking, what is a good career to go into? Or what's the best college for business? What's the best college for engineering? Or what are some good colleges for psychology? You might say, do I just ask my friends and neighbors and family, maybe my priests, like what's some good schools or what should they go into? Or look at a bunch of rankings of colleges or just start visiting random places and see what's fun. And I would say, no, you should not begin at any of those areas. From the Orthodox perspective, you should begin with the parable of the talents. And so you probably know this parable, but really quick, the master went away and he gave his 3 servants talents to look over. One he gave 5, one he gave 2, one he gave 1. And when he came back, he asked for them back. And so why is this important? Why do we want to know about this? Because the process of going into college, especially, or other things, often results in pride factors. Pride can creep in from both the students and parents as we're trying to make these decisions. And I really want to warn, because I've seen it firsthand, I really want to warn both students and parents to not let that happen and to really take a step back and look. So this parable of the talents, why did I even mention it? Think about what happened. What happened was, the first question to ask yourself, I guess, is, are you or is your child the servant who received 5, 2, or 1 talent? We all have a talent. God gives us a talent according to his blessings, his grace, and so on. And he asks us to do something with it. If he thinks we deserve 5 talents, great. We should do something with it. If he thinks he's going to give us 1, he believes that we can do something with that 1. So what happened? The 5 talent person doubled it to 10, and the 2 talent person doubled it to 4. But the person with the 1 talent got scared and hid it. And what happened? The Lord was not any less pleased with the person who he gave 2 than he gave 5. He didn't say, you only doubled it to 4, how come you didn't make it 10 like this guy? He was equally pleased because that is the grace he gave to them. That is what he knew they could handle. They took it and trusted in the Lord, and they did what they were supposed to do with it. He was displeased with the servant because the 1 didn't do anything. He basically said, I'm too afraid, or I don't trust you. I don't believe that I can really do anything with this, so I'm just going to run and hide. So that's why he was displeased with him. What does that have to do with college or post-high school paths? We have to make sure, as the student, we are really self-aware. Are we the person with 5, 2, 1, 3, 7 talents, and are we going to use them to the best of our abilities? Are we also going to find a path that is related to how many talents or what our talents are? We can't look at anyone else and say, well, that person's going to med school and that person's going to law school, but I really struggle with, basic, education stuff. I guess I'll just try to be a doctor anyways. No, you have to look at what God gave you. Don't undersell yourself and don't oversell yourself. And parents need to also understand what the talents and abilities that their kids have. Every year I meet with families who have a list of really selective colleges on the kids' list or on their list, and I look at their grade point average and I look at their test scores and what they're involved in, and it just does not match up. And that's okay. It's okay. That's why there's 4,000 colleges and 12 different career paths you can go, different ways, all those, or 9, however many we just looked at, ways you can go. But when we try to force things because we, don't want to tell, our friends or our neighbors or our relatives, oh yeah, they didn't get into this school or they didn't do this major, then that's where the pride really comes in. So we have to make sure that we are looking at what is the best fit for the student. The parents can't push their kids to be something that they're not. Students can't try to push themselves into areas where that's just not where their ability is. And again, it's okay. They're given something. They've got to figure it out. Because again, the best fit is about being complete in Christ and having a good fit with our whole life. And that includes our academic fit, our social fit, our financial fit, and a spiritual fit. Whatever we do should fit into all these areas. And that way we will be successful in them. We will be mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, physically healthy. And so we're going to do whatever we do, with a purpose directed to God, and not going in all these other areas that aren't going to be good fits for us. And it's a tough thing to do, right? And that's why I say it's never too early for students and parents to start, thinking about where do my talents lie and what am I interested in and what has God given me, so we can find it. It's the students who kind of sit and don't think about anything, then all of a sudden, halfway through senior year, like I should start thinking about something. That's when it's trouble. So I'm going to go through a little bit about what you can focus on freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years to be prepared on kind of what timeline happens each year, and especially talk a lot about a focus, especially for these first a couple of years of high school. What freshmen and sophomores should be really doing is just how can I get ready from now? And the 5 areas of focus you see there are academics, involvement, some career and college exploration, and like I said, constant self-reflection, which is another word you could say that is prayer. Praying about what am I good at? Show me the way of what route should I go? Talk to your spiritual father about it, and so on. So for academic success, it really starts again from day one, especially of high school. And so you want to develop good habits in middle school leading into high school, but once the clock starts in freshman year, you want to keep a few things in mind. So the first thing that colleges, and a lot of this I'll talk about, is related to college. But jobs and other places too are going to look at grades. Grades for college is the number one thing that they look at, and they look at your whole transcript, freshman year through senior year sometimes. Even all the way through senior year. So I'm telling my seniors now who are about to finish the first semester, hey, your senior year grades do count. You got to keep going. Don't just like, I got into school, I'll just throw in the towel the rest of the year up. They can help you with scholarships. They can help you with a lot of other things. So you definitely don't want to slack off even senior year, but for sure freshman year starts. Know your school's grade point average scale, your GPA scale, because those grades and that GPA can save you money when it comes to scholarships. So an example, I'll show you an example in a second, a really black and white example of how GPA can lead to money. But at the high school I work at, the grades, A, 90% and up is A, 80 to 89 is B, 70 to 79 is C. So it's either a 4.0 for A, 3.0 for B, 2.0 for C. At the high school that my son will go to, they have A plus, A minus, B plus, and all those are different grades. So an A would be a 4. A plus would be a 4.3, an A would be 4, and A minus would be a 3.7. So if you have a 91%, at his school, his GPA is a 3.7. The school I work at, it's a 4.0. So very different. You want to check what that school's grade point average is. You want to challenge yourself as much as you can, depending on the curriculum of your school. And we'll look really quick in a second at 3 Hierarchs curriculum to show how challenging and rigorous it is. You want to reassess, though, and see if there's areas, again, where you're stronger or not, if there's a way to do some enrichment or to scale back. You're going to want to talk to teachers or counselors or administrators about how that looks. You want to find balance in your life, too. If you're finding that you're overloaded with so many really rigorous classes, then you want to maybe see if you can, again, scale back. And then any chance to take electives, whether during the school day or summer school electives or enrichment electives somehow, is just another fun way to use a different side of your brain and see if there's a different career route you might want to go. Of course, these grades and things and being able to keep up with the challenge is having good habits. So taking notes and participating in class is a good skill. Being organized. This is often where parents can help. Hey, let's check your folder. Let's check your backpack. Let's check your notebooks. Like, how are you organized? Develop good time management skills and study habits. So using different tricks, using different timers to make sure that you're using a calendar, make sure you're laying out your day. And then definitely being a self-advocate and asking for help when needed is really important too. And then standardized tests are another aspect of academics that often cause a lot of people a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. So there's 3 tests that are used for college admission. The big 2 are the SAT and the ACT, and there's a 3rd test called the CLT, and that's used more for homeschool type students or students who do more of a classical education like 3 Hierarchs has. Some colleges may not be as familiar with it or really know that much about the CLT. So depending on the college, you may want to stick with SAT or ACT. In Illinois, the ACT is a graduation requirement for public school students, and it may be for private schools if they decide to make it as well. But there are some states like the state of Florida where their public schools require a test score to apply. And the CLT is one that's accepted, and they have stats on it, and they're getting more and more stats. Illinois public schools are test optional currently, so you don't have to submit a test score. So it's important to take tests seriously when you take them, to do your very best. They are meant to be taken in spring of junior year or later, so there's no need to go sign up for an SAT or ACT freshman year or sophomore year. You want to make sure you cover the right content first and you're ready to go. It's always great to prep, but there's lots of free prep options out there. I've seen families spend thousands of dollars prepping for a test, and they are missing activities or getting jobs or going to youth groups or Goya or church because they are test prep, and it's I think that's a little overkill. So again, the number one thing they're looking at is grades, the classes you've taken. The tests can help, and the better the test score you have, the better, but it's not something to go overboard on. So this might be tough to see depending on what size screen you're looking at, but this is the curriculum at 3 Hierarchs, and you can see it's pretty rigorous with honors courses, from the start in English, in math, in science, classical studies, languages that a lot of colleges look for, PE, theology, and so on and so forth. So by going to a school, like 3 Hierarchs, you're going to be getting a rigorous college prep, curriculum and education that will set you up, for a great transcript when students apply to college. Here's the example I was talking about for how GPA can really matter. So this is a chart from the University of Arizona on their merit-based scholarships. So scholarships based solely on GPA. This is not common for a lot of schools. Many schools do a more holistic review for scholarships, so they're looking at a lot more than just the GPA, but this is an example. Where a student who has a 3.899 GPA, who doesn't live in Arizona, could get $20,000 a year scholarship, which is great. But if they had 100th of a point higher at 3.9, they would have $30,000 a year, which is a difference of $10,000 a year times 4. It's a $40,000 difference just by that little smidgen of 100th of a point of a GPA. And so all those little things count, that missing assignment you were too lazy to turn in, or the retake your teacher let you do that you didn't do, or you didn't ask for help when you were lost and you did bad on a test. All of those things can make a difference. And it could lead to lots of money down the line. So something I try to stress, with students a lot, that it makes a difference. All those little points make a difference. Another important part of getting into good habits early on in high school, and of course keeping them throughout high school, is staying physically and spiritually healthy. And spiritually healthy, mentally healthy, kind of, I say, are what go together as well. So one important thing to do is to get involved. The more students are involved with things and they're not just at home sitting around on their phone, playing video games, watching TV, the less likely they are to get in some kind of trouble or do some things that they're not supposed to be doing. So get involved in school stuff, definitely in church activities. It could be if students are not attending Three Hierarchs for the regular school, they have enrichment courses after school that you can sign up for. It really is beneficial not to schedule every second of the day. We don't want to do that. But we want to have enough things planned that, we're busy, we have things to do, because that does help build time management skills, knowing, okay, after I come back from this practice or this group, I only have this amount of time to do my work, so I'm going to have to get down and focus. And the other win there, too, is that you can put those things on your college applications, scholarship applications, that you are a part of this group, this club, Goya, Altar Boy, Olympics, whatever it may be, church-related, too. For social group, again, this is a time for high school students to try to make sure they find friends that share their values. Growing up in middle school, elementary school, depending where you went, oftentimes you're either kind of stuck with the same people, or you just kind of gravitate to friends because I like sports and they like sports, so we just kind of talk and hang out and talk about sports. But things get a little bit deeper as they get older, and so you want to find friends who share those values and part ways sometimes with those friends that don't. If you happen to go to a public school, you can invite your church friends to public school events and vice versa. I went to dances at public schools with my friends who went to church with from Goya, and so we knew that we were going to have a platonic fun time. Our parents all knew we could trust each other. We all got to just hang out somewhere else and do something fun. So definitely can do things like that. And it's really important too for students to find friend groups who's also have parents who share the same kind of rules, so to speak, right? So if I'm in a group of friends and they can all stay out till 2 a.m. and watch R-rated movies and drink pop all night long, and my parents say, you have to be home at 10 and no alarm movies and no whatever, like you're going to feel really left out, and really it's not going to work so well. So find people that kind of share those same rules with each other, and then it's not a big deal. Like, yeah, we all have to be home at 10 and we all can't go to this movie, so let's do something else. And that can be hard too. So finding friends at church, at camp, Fanari camps or things like that are great, places to find people who typically have the same values. As students get older in high school, sometimes they might end up, kind of sitting around a lot if they have a device, or they're just sitting doing homework a lot. So it's important to get up and move, get away from a screen, get away from writing, give your hand a rest from writing or typing, give your eyes a rest. Sometimes too, when students get really busy and they leave early and they get home late, they're not eating balanced meals. They're eating a lot of snacks, and that's not good for your health either. You're running from one thing to the next, and I'm already thinking tomorrow, like my son's going from school to his basketball game and then in the car to go to Junior Goya, and we're not going to get, like, when is he going to eat? When is he going to do? So sometimes you have to just plan ahead and try to make sure, okay, we better have, let's bring something in the car or have something later, or pack them an extra big lunch or something, so that you're not just eating junk food. And it's important to get good sleep, because when students are tired and don't sleep, a lot of bad habits happen. Not only do we not do as well in classes and on tests and things, but then we start drifting off to sleep at night. And what do we sacrifice? I'm too tired for prayers. too tired to go to junior Goya. It's too long of a day. I'm too tired, to do whatever. Or let me, drink some caffeine. I see so many high school kids drinking coffee. It's not good for you. Energy drinks are not meant to be for under 18. And that can be a big rise in things when students get tired. So again, managing good, proper sleep as well. And then I kind of talked a little bit about screen time. Sometimes work may or may not be on the device. At 3 hierarchs, from what I understand, there's no devices. Very rarely are students on a screen, so that's good. But you don't want to overdo it when you get home or anything like that. So keep screens out of the bedroom at night, and as much as you can, multiple hour or more before you go to sleep. So all of these things help us stay physically healthy, which we are our body is the temple of God. It helps us stay mentally sharp, spiritually sharp, and that benefits us academically and spiritually as well. So those are definitely things that you want to start really getting into good habits freshman and sophomore year. For career exploration and college exploration, it's really, again, just kind of constantly thinking, what am I interested in? Can I take a class? Can I talk to somebody at coffee hour who is a lawyer or a doctor or a accountant or a welder or a painter or a priest? Who knows, whatever, So going to different events, there's lots of events that are sponsored by community colleges or hospitals or different organizations. So you can, if you do go to 3 hierarchs, you can always, or wherever you are, you can always follow other, look at other public schools, websites, or social media sites. So even though I work at a public school and we offer a lot of stuff, I look at what other high schools are doing. And if they're sharing an event that I didn't hear about, I'll share it with my students. So there's a lot of stuff out there to explore. Summer programs, some can be expensive, some are free. Just kind of get an idea of what's out there. And then for college exploration, your freshman and sophomore year, again, it's really thinking like, if I want to do this degree, this career field, do I need to go to college? If so, like, do I want to go far away or close to a big school or small school? And that kind of leads into more junior year. And junior year is when we really start to develop, if we're going to go to college, our college list. And how I tell students to do it, especially Orthodox students, we have 6 P's of the college search process, and I've done another presentation on this before, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, or we'll have more in the future. But really quickly, the 6 P's are, the first P is the person, so that's the student. Who is that student? Going back to the parable of the talents, what are their talents? Where do their interests lie? Do they want to go to college? Who do they want? Are they a competitive learner? Are they a more laid-back learner? Are they a hands-on learner? Are they an auditory learner? Like, who are they, and what kind of environment would they thrive in? And then the second P is people. Who will they go to college with? Do they want to go to school with other competitive people or not competitive? An all-male or female school? A conservative or more liberal school? A faith-based school or not? There's a lot of different things you can look at for who you'll be going to school with. That one is hard to gauge unless you visit. And I've had multiple students this year at my public school come back and say, after I visited, I didn't really feel like I fit in with the students there. They were too this or they were too that. And I just, I even got an email from an alum who was like, a lot of the other people here don't really jive with my views, my viewpoints. And this wasn't an Orthodox student, but he even mentioned, if you were an Orthodox or Catholic, you probably wouldn't want to go here. And so he was looking to transfer. So it's important to kind of investigate those things and see if you would fit in with the other classmates you're going to be going to school with for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. The third P is place, and that's a lot of things: a big school, medium school, small school, in the city, in the suburbs, more out in the country, a public, private, those kind of things. And again, visiting helps to kind of determine where you see yourself there. The fourth P is program. So what do you want to study? The fifth is price, and that's another area where pride, especially with parents, can really come into play. So we might be prideful because we don't want to tell our kids no. We want to be like the best parent, and I'll do whatever my kid wants, and I'll go into debt, and I'll mortgage my house so that they can go to this one school. I've seen that. And that's not a, probably the best way to go about using your money. Are we going to a school because, again, the prestige surrounds it, even though it's twice as much as another school where they can get the same education? Is it really necessary? Is it out of our budget? Could we be using that money for something else? I never tell anyone how to spend their money. I just kind of throw out questions for you to really think about when it comes to that. Oftentimes you hear in days like college is so expensive, it's out of control, there's so much debt. That is because families, students, parents, whoever chose to go to those expensive routes. There are ways to go to school for much, much lower than those prices you hear. It's just people just don't want to go to them. And that's a decision you have to make. And then the last P is prayer. As an Orthodox Christian, are you praying about it? Are you talking to your spiritual father about it? What will your life, your prayer life, your orthodoxy life, will you be able to live orthodoxy on that campus? And so that's something else to consider. So junior year, you're thinking through those things. You're attending college fairs or info sessions to get information from the colleges. Or if you're not going to college, you're attending trade open houses or trade school open houses, or you're talking to military reps, or you're going to gap year fairs to see, what options are out there from now. You're visiting campuses to see again about if all those things fit. Now you're taking these tests, ACT, SAT. All colleges accept both the ACT and SAT for sure, so you do not have to take both. So you can just focus on one, see how it goes, and see if you need to actually take the other one or take it multiple times. That's totally up to you. If you have the opportunity to do a job shadow or interview someone from a different career or do an internship or a summer job, that's a great way to find out if this is a career path that you want to go down. And if you do something like that and you find out it's not, great. You've ruled something out, and now you don't have to spend thousands of dollars in college pursuing it only to realize it later that it's not what you want. You want by the end of junior year to create a balanced college list. So what do I mean by balanced? We mean we want to look at the admission chances. So we want to find schools where we know we're going to get in. We're going to find schools that we call those safety schools. We want to find target or match schools where all of our grades and test scores and everything kind of match with what they usually admit. It's not a for sure, but it's a pretty good chance. And then if we have some schools that we call reaches, either our grades and things are a little bit low or they're just a really selective school, then we can have those on our list. We just don't want to list up all reaches. And we want to make sure that these schools are also financial fits, that we've looked at a net price calculator, or we've done some sort of financial aid estimator, and we know that if this is what it comes out to be, it's in our family's budget. We don't want to go into senior year applying to all schools that we have no chance of getting into, and we can't afford even if we did. What's the point? Then you have no options. And then by the end of junior year, you can definitely start working on your college essay into the summer, so that when you come back in the fall of senior year to apply, you're not starting from square one with that. You're just actually working on filling out the actual application. So senior year is finalizing these plans, whether that's applications to college, to an apprenticeship, to the military, to the workforce. If you're wrapping up your final college fairs or info sessions to find out, any last minute tips on the application or logistics of submitting things or turning things in. You should never commit to a college without visiting the campus in person. So if you need to do a last visit or a first visit to make sure that that's where you want to go, great. And then you'll want to apply for various forms of financial aid, like the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. It's a government application. In many states, including Illinois, it doubles as the federal application and the state application for aid. And for many colleges, it also is part of determining if the college is going to give you any aid. And then there's a variety of scholarships, either through the college itself or external scholarships. Many churches have scholarships. And so you definitely want to look at churches ethnic groups, Hellenic societies, and different ethnic groups have them as well, and finalize all that. Excuse me. All right, so as we kind of wrap up here, just some tips I like to give to parents. Again, I'm not a parenting expert, but I think this is pretty sound advice. One is think of the parable of the sower. And the sower is, sowing the seed, which is, of course, the word of God. And the seed goes onto the rocks and into the road and into some dirt where there's thorns and other dirt that's whatever. And then finally, there's the good soil where it can grow. We need to help our kids, be mindful of their spiritual life and spiritual growth, and help cultivate that good soil. Help them learn the faith and prepare them to be challenged about it. So if we plant them, that seed in the good soil, we cultivate that good soil, they're going to grow up, and no matter what noise they hear around them in college or in the workplace or wherever they go, they're going to grow strong, and they're going to be able to be, good to go. But if we haven't cultivated that good soil, they're going to hear this from this professor, or hear this from this classmate, or hear this from this boss, and it could choke them or stomp it out or cause them to question themselves. And that's definitely what we don't want, because a large number of students do leave the faith in college and don't come back afterwards. So we want to make sure they go in, in that good soil. So from now, attend church regularly, participate in the sacraments, make sure they're involved with and prioritize, again, those church activities. So I just have a list of some things there. But all those things are good for their soul and can be put on their resume too. They can put it on their college applications. They were an altar boy captain. They were a vacation church school teacher, Sunday school teacher, whatever. All those things look great on resumes, and of course are good for their soul. And if they're involved in these things in high school, and it's something they look forward to and they're used to it, the chances that they're going to keep looking for those same activities in college. They're going to look for that Orthodox Christian fellowship group. They're going to look to find a church nearby and keep doing these things, because it's just a part of their life and who they are. So why would they stop? If you're into something and do it all the time, you're more likely not going to just stop cold turkey. All right. And as tough as it can be, we do want this process to be student driven. So I like to use the analogy of driver's ed. So when they're a freshman, they're probably not behind the wheel yet, you are, but they're in the front seat next to you, and they're kind of watching what you do, and you're giving, okay, here's how you should ask for this, or here's how you should organize this, or, you can even ask, how should I do this? Do you want me to do this? So on and so forth. When they get their permit, now they're behind the wheel, but maybe you have that brake to hit or gas to go when necessary. But by the time they're a junior and senior and they have their license and there are less and less restrictions on driving, there should be less and less things that you're doing for them. You're not reaching out to their teacher. You're not filling out their college applications or writing their essays. Of course, you're letting them lead the way. Along the way, you should encourage them to do all these things that I talked about tonight. Try different classes, try different activities, get a job, take them to different events. They don't have to do everything. So sometimes some parents will say, doesn't my kid need to be in a sport and in music and take a language and volunteer 1,000 hours a week? And no, colleges know that there's only 24 hours in a day, and they have tough classes, and there's a lot of things going on. So it doesn't have to be more, but it should be something with a purpose. So, finding something that's spiritually benefiting, socially benefiting. It's fun, but it's also, serves a purpose. And as I kind of mentioned before, for parents to try to keep an open heart to God's will and not yours. So, you might have had a vision of what school they were going to go to or what career field they were going to go into when they were younger, but that might not be what their student is going to do or what God's will is for them. And so as long as they're not doing something dangerous or, terrible, hopefully we just have to keep praying, for them that they are doing God's will. And then you're going along with God's will as well. So that is all I had for this evening, is a quick overview of some options and some things to do at each step. I do have a survey that's a Google form. If you don't mind filling it out, I'm going to. So thank you so much.